DynamicCardStore.com to get the cards. Icons, legends aiming at the stars. Hursty at checkout to save your points. Now your bank account won't be staying empty. DynamicCardStore.com. Use code Hursty. Go on.
Hey there guys, welcome back to Hursty Games and welcome to another FIFA 20 squad builder video. Today we're making a budget team, a starter team for the Serie A. If you like this kind of video, then let me know by dropping a like on the video. This is one of the last ones of this little week that we've got coming up. Obviously, by the time you see this, I think the web app will be out. I might be wrong. I might have got my days wrong there. But it'll be very close to the web app if not. So it's very close to that 10-hour early access as well. But let's get into a team that I think will be very good to the start of the game with a Serie A league. So we're going to get into it, and as I said with all of these, the keeper is one to take with a pinch of salt, as we have no idea how good the keepers are going to be until we actually try them in game. But Cragno looks half decent, and if you're in a bit more of a budget, and again, we don't know if the keepers are good, bad, or what, then it could be that Cragno is maybe a player you can replace with someone slightly cheaper. But Cragno, for me, looks really good. 84 diving and 88 reflexes is actually kind of mad. Not particularly great kicking, so you're not going to be booting it long very often. But FIFA 21, or FIFA 20 I should say, I didn't really boot the ball long particularly often anyway. I liked playing it short, keeping possession, that kind of dealio. But yeah, the keeper, his stats look very good for an 81 rated keeper. So that's why I went with him anyway. But then at left back, we've got Mario Rui, who I've gone with here, as you can see. Mainly because the pace isn't amazing, but across the board, it's an okay looking left back. I think it's a bit of a weird one. For me, on this card, you'd like an anchor, if I'm being honest with you. Though. That obviously does bring up the price of this card if you're going to be saving up for an anchor as well. However, decent enough pace, good dribbling, decent passing, defense is okay, physicality is quite low. So if you're happy with 82 pace, then a Sentinel will be fine. We've said this on some of the other ones as well, but pace not quite being as high for a lot of players as it has been in previous years means that actually 82 pace on a left back could be okay, and I can tell you now he's the quickest defender in this team, so we're not looking at the paciest of back lines anyway. But I think Rui looks decent, but you do need to boost that defensive physicality. So Sentinel if you're doing it on the budget and you don't mind about the pace, otherwise you need to save up for an anchor card. But his centre back next to him is Nkulu, 70 pace, again 72 physicality, so not the beefiest of boys, but 82 defence is not bad at all, with good dribbling and passing as well for a centre back. So for me, that looks like a nice little centre back player. And I think he just looks good. I do just think Nkulu looks like a good card. So that's why I've stuck him in there, because I think he does look like a decent little card. And then next to him, we're going with Morillo, or however you say it, the man from Colombia. But he looks like a very good card. Every year he seems to have a pretty good starting card. But 74 pace is phenomenal for a centre-back. Good defence, good physicality, and I just think a decent little card, honestly. Again, the kind of card that I can just see putting a Sentinel on, and you're looking at a very good centre-back for the price he probably will be. Because I don't see him being that expensive. I don't see too many people running like Colombian hybrids. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think he looks like a good card that for the start of the game, I think would definitely fit into a lot of starter teams. At right back, we are going with Malquit. I think Malquit looks like a very good card. The only reason this guy will be expensive is purely because of the hybrid possibilities. Like I was just saying with Morillo not being particularly hybridable, Malquit definitely is. Obviously French, so links to a lot of different leagues, a lot of different players, and Napoli have some good players, so it's very easy to link off from him and get a good strong green link to him anyway. But I think Malquit looks decent. Fairly similar kind of thing to what I was saying about Mario Rui. If you feel like you need to add the anchor card, then it's something to save up for, but Sentinel will be a good start on him anyway. But the passing and dribbling for a fullback is fantastic. So for me, with dribbling and being on the ball being quite important by the looks of things, I think that's why I've kind of gone with those cards, because their dribbling looks really good. And I personally, my fullbacks get involved quite a lot in my gameplay on 20. So if I'm trying to do something similar, they're going to be important for me on this one as well. But we'll start off with the first centre mid, and this is somebody who's actually going to get a strong link into Malquit anyway, and that is Rabio. So I'm treating him as if you guys don't know, when I've got a 3-man midfield, I kind of try and get a CDM, a box-to-box, and a cam. So this is our box-to-box. For me, Rabio looks very good, especially in the defensive sort of dealio. So if I was playing like a 4-2-3-1, he'd definitely sit CDM and be someone that I'm confident with going forward a little bit with the ball. But great dribbling, really nice defense physicality mix as well, good passing, and pace and shooting isn't the end of the world either. So I think this card looks really good, really usable, and honestly I would be surprised to not see this card fairly often in starter teams, especially if people are going for Serie A squads. So I think Rabio is a very, very good player. This is one of the weirdest players, I think, in this, but this is my go-to, like, solid CDM on a budget in the Serie A. I think the 64 pace will drive his price right down, but you can't ignore 82 defense and 80 physicality. I think it's a really, really good looking card. A nice mix, good passing, good dribbling as well for a CDM. And honestly, I just think this card looks very, very good. If you have something to boost the pace a little bit, then great. But mate, this card for a starting CDM looks phenomenal. I don't think this guy will be very expensive at all, purely because 64 pace. But I don't think pace is going to be absolutely the be-all and end-all this year. So I do think the rune could be a very, very good, very, very usable CDM for you. And next to Rabio, I think that's a really nice partnership. Now, for me, this is one of the best cards in this entire team. It is Bernadeshi. I think Bernadeshi looks like an absolute sauce box of a card, my guys. Honestly, this guy at cam, I think he's going to be phenomenal. 80 pace, which is good. 75 shooting, which is fine for me as a cam, at least for a starter team. 80 passing, great. 83 dribbling, amazing. So for me, I'm very, very happy with the mix of this card. And again, I think because the slightly lower shooting, I do think he's going to be a little bit cheaper. I think he's going to be fairly desirable for a lot of starter teams. And I think having players from Juve or Piemonte Calcio is going to be desirable for a lot of people just because of the badge and just because it is Juve, right? And that kind of happens with a lot of teams. But I do genuinely think Bernadeshi is going to be a very, very good usable card at the start of the game. So I'm personally looking forward to trying this card out. I think he's going to be a bit of a cheap beast right at the start. Only way to find out is to try him, and that is what I'm going to do if I go for a Serie A route. Now, we're going to go with the front three. On the left-hand side, we're going with the King Forehead, a.k.a. Mr. Gervinho. Gervinho, for me this year, looks just a little bit overpowered. I think, you know, 90 pace, where we don't, like I said, I don't think pace is going to be the be-all and end-all this year. Sorry, you guys know Footbin just has a little funny 5 minutes whenever you're doing these squads, but I don't think the pace is going to be the be-all and end-all this year. But having at least a couple of quick players, I think, is always important anyway, just because it gives you an option, an outlet. But 70 shooting on a winger isn't the end of the world. Great dribbling, decent passing. I just think Gervinho is going to be slightly OP again just because of the sort of build of his card and how FIFAs have been previously. But again, that will massively depend on if pace is as important as it has been. I still think it will have something to play in the game. I'm not trying to say pace is nothing, but I don't think pace is going to be quite as important as it has been in previous years. But for me, I think Gervinho is definitely somebody to still put in and consider. Okay, now I'll be brutally honest, when I was going through all these teams and everything, the player I actually had at right mid is no longer in the Italian league. I was going to go with Lazaro, but he's gone on loan to Borussia Mönchengladbach. But there are quite a few options, to be fair, from the Serie A at right mid. Callahan and Hakimi, obviously, more expensive options, but would be very, very good players. Lazari, great pace, but awful shooting. Mkhitaryan, good shooting, but awful pace. Berardi, a kind of really good mix of the two, and I'm almost tempted to go with Berardi, so I would definitely say Berardi, I think, will be a good option for people considering it. But I'm going with Samuel Castillo, and my reasoning is I think it's a good mix of stats for the sort of cards you want, or the sort of stats you want on a right wing card. The shooting is the only thing, again, you want a bit of a boost with, and it is a bit of a worry for me to have two wingers that don't have the best shooting. However, for a starter team, I think it's way, way more important to have players that I think are going to feel more usable in more situations. So the fact that he's got decent pace, decent dribbling, good passing, okay shooting, for me is more important than having someone who's a bit slower, not the best at passing, but can shoot. So that's why I've gone with Castillo. I do think Berardi would be a good option too, so do consider those two when you're making a decision if you are looking at a team like this. But I think Castillo is a really good option, definitely viable on that right-hand side, and I would probably just hedge my bets towards him, and if I wasn't entirely convinced, use the coins to sell him on, and then try out someone like Berardi or another right winger. But I'm a bit gutted that Lazaro is no longer in the Serie A, because I really like Lazaro's card, so he could be good for the Bundesliga now as well. But for now, we're going with Castillo, is how I'm saying it. I'm probably saying it wrong. But the main man up front for me, this is probably the best, along with the Bernadeshi, is Rebic, 100%. Rebic's card just looks insane. I'm hoping he is on a bit of a budget just because of his rating and everything. But 88 pace, phenomenal. 80 physicality, beautiful. 80 shooting is great for a starter team. 79 dribbling as well. Things you love to see. I just think this card looks really, really good. I mentioned him in the like hybrid trios video that I did, like good players to get little hybrids and strong links with. And I think Rebic is just going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beastly card. And obviously, touching on that hybrid situation, we didn't have Castillo at the time, or Castillo at the time. him and it was Kessie that I put at that little trio. Could be a very, very nice trio. And if you were thinking of getting Kessie, I'd put him in over Darun. Him and Tonali could be options here over Darun if you're not a big fan of the pace. But I just think that Darun looks good for a starting team. But regardless, that is my Serie A starting team. For me, I think with the budget that we're trying to stick with, you know, it being a budget team, I think this is one of the best out of these little videos that I've made in regards to the squad being on a real budget. I don't think many players here are going to be too expensive. If I had to guess, I'd guess Rabio, Malquit and Rebic will be the three slightly more expensive players, but I do think this is still going to be on a very cheap budget. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, then please do leave a like on the video. It's greatly appreciated. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel and hit that notification bell to be told anytime that we upload a video or indeed go live with a live stream. For now, guys, I want to say massive thank you for watching. I've been Tom. You guys have been awesome, and I'll see you soon. Look after yourselves, and of course, wash your hands in a bit.
His name is Hursty. Slap bald head, yeah, it'll probably hurt me. Bang top bins, it'll probably hurt you. Ginger, streamer, platform, YouTube. Drop a name in the chat or say hello. Entertained, yeah, you already know. Capital H, yeah, I'm a read it slow. Hursty games, yeah, you already know.